And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Tuesday, June 3rd. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Here we are on a Tuesday. It is June 3rd. We welcome you to our program brought to you by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. And Tracy Pope is here this morning. Tracy is Director of Community Relations for Vanderbilt Wilson and has a special guest we'll be talking with. But Tracy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman.
Hope things are going well.
Yes, going well. Enjoyed the holiday just last week, and children are out of school now, so I think it's summertime and hoping for some good weather. And the rain has made our grass beautiful, but ready to have some sun and summer weather.
Well, I like to think summertime and the living is easy, like that song says. But anyway, we got to get going here this morning. Any news you want to relate, or are you ready to introduce?
I think we're ready to introduce Dr. Andrew Hopper. He's been with us a few times. He's our trauma medical director. He's a general and trauma surgeon here at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital.
Well, Dr. Andrew Hopper, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having Tracy and I back.
We're glad to have you here again. You have visited a few times, but remind our audience where you're from, where you trained, a little bit about yourself, and how you came to Vanderbilt Wilson County.
Yes, sir. Well, my father was in the military. He was in the Marine Corps, and so I grew up all over the country. Majority of the time was spent in the Southwest, though, and he retired from the Marines, and we moved out to rural Arizona. And so I did high school out there and ended up going to undergraduate and medical school in Arizona. And then was looking for a place to do fellowship, and that's what brought me to Vanderbilt University. And so I did what's called an acute care surgery fellowship, where basically for 2 years you learn how to be a trauma surgeon, an emergency general surgeon, and did that here at Vanderbilt. I met my wife while I was doing fellowship. She's an attorney here in town, and I actually had a job all lined up back in the Southwest in Arizona, and said, hey, do you want to move back to Arizona with me? And she said, wait, I'd have to take the bar all over again? And she said, not happening. So I'm a Tennessee man now.
Yeah. What point in your life did you think about the medical profession? I mean, you said your father was in the military, so you didn't follow him in that regard.
No, in fact, there's really no one in healthcare in my family. But just growing up, I always had an interest in science and the way that the human body works. It's absolutely fascinating. And just that desire to learn more about it and sort of the inner workings drove me into the medical field.
And you could have chosen something besides surgery, another well, there's a multitude of things, but any particular thing led you to surgery?
Well, I'm a kinesthetic person. I like working with my hands. And so when you're in medical school, the big decision is, are you more of a cerebral thinker? And if you're that way, you're going to go into internal medicine, or are you more of a hands-on person? If that's the case, you're going to go into more of a surgical field. And so that's always been me. I like working on cars or going out, working on tractors, and working on the human. I did, yeah. Growing up, we had a tractor. So, but working on the human body is no different.
Okay, all right. Well, tell us some of the different types of surgery that you perform.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the stability of the patient, and what I mean by that, and the reason I went into trauma surgery in the first place is I get to do a whole multitude of different operations. So in one case, I may be dealing with someone with a gunshot wound to the abdomen or a stab wound to the chest. In another instance, in emergency general surgery, I may be dealing with acute appendicitis, a bowel obstruction, perforated diverticulitis, and then in a separate sort of instance, I can be an elective general surgeon where I'm dealing with gallbladders and hernias. But again, that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing what I do, is because at any one instance, I'm in multiple cavities of the body operating on multiple things.
Well, with those multiple types of surgery that you do, you have to maybe even be a little bit more aware of the human body, really know anatomy to be successful, I would think.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. And so you have to have knowledge about all different sort of aspects. And really the role of the trauma surgeon is to stabilize someone in that sort of initial presentation to the hospital. And then if they need more specialized care, i.e., a stab wound to the heart and need a cardiothoracic surgeon, well, we can get them to that person. But the job of the trauma surgeon is to stabilize that person from the get-go.
Don't you also, in those situations, have to have nerves of steel?
Well, like anything, you fall back on your training, and it's a long process to be a trauma surgeon. All told, 15 years of higher education and training, basically. So you really, when things are going crazy, it's important for the trauma surgeon to remain calm. We like to say that it's controlled chaos when a patient walks through the door, and you fall back on your training.
Well, I'm glad that you can be calm, cool, and collective even in those adverse situations. Not everybody could be. I know I couldn't be. I think I would run screaming out the door with my hands in the air or something. Well, let's talk about gallbladder surgery. That's pretty common. What sort of symptoms does a patient have that is suffering from gallbladder problems?
You're right. It's very common. It's, in fact, one of the most common operations that we perform in the United States. And typically people will have right upper quadrant or epigastric or substernal chest pain. And usually the pain starts about 30 minutes to an hour after you eat like spicy food or greasy food.
Okay, that is a symptom. Are there others? Is that the most common thing?
Pain is the most common thing, and then it can progress to something more severe in what's called acute cholecystitis, and that's actually where you develop an infection of the gallbladder. Mm-hmm. So when you look at sort of the etiology of gallbladder pathology, it's really broken up into the creation of stones in your gallbladder and or the gallbladder itself being a faulty pump.
Well, what causes it to stop performing correctly?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is sort of our Western diet, our high cholesterol diet. And so if you think back to high school chemistry, what happens is the gallbladder stores bile. The bile can precipitate and it can form stones. And some of those stones can become very large, and they basically block the inflow and outflow of bile into the gallbladder. And when that happens, the gallbladder all that fluid becomes stasis. It can lead to infection, and it can lead to ischemia and infarction or death of the gallbladder. And that's what leads to acute cholecystitis, and that's a surgical emergency.
Well, I think we all know the answer to what I'm going to ask next. If a patient can do okay and live without a gallbladder, and I think we all probably know some people who've lived a pretty good while without one.
Yeah, they can. The majority of people do just fine. I always tell patients if you're having symptoms, it's better to do it in sort of an elective, non-emergent sort of setting. Usually those patients, if they come to me in my office and they say that we're having some pain in the right upper quadrant, but they're not having any signs of infection, we can schedule them for an outpatient surgery, meaning they go home the same day. The first week, you're a little sore and you're recovering from the operation. I usually tell them take about 7 to 10 days off from work. But after about a week, I'd say most people are doing pretty well.
Well, the surgery that is done, we were talking about this before we went on the air this morning, in the last maybe 20, 30 years, it's changed a lot.
That's right. Yeah, nowadays we're able to do the majority of these surgeries minimally invasive or laparoscopic. And so that consists of 3 small holes, basically the size of your pinky nail, up in the right upper quadrant. And then the largest hole is down by your belly button, and that's about an inch in length. And that's where we pull the gallbladder out. That's why that one's a little bit bigger. But the majority of the time, we're able to do this minimally invasive as opposed to, 30 years ago where they had to do a large incision underneath your right rib cage.
And even for that reason, I would think is one reason that recovery is so much faster, so much quicker.
That's exactly right. The reason is that large incision underneath your rib cage is painful. You're going through a lot of different muscle layers there. And so if you're able to do this with much smaller holes, you're exactly right. Your recovery is much quicker and your pain is less.
And the whole thing is just laparoscopy has changed surgery tremendously, hasn't it? In nearly all aspects of surgery where you use laparoscopy, it's just a better way.
You're exactly right. It's basically becoming the standard for many operations, or has become the standard for many of the operations that we do.
And you are watching a monitor like a TV screen or something while you're doing all of that?
Yes, sir. Yep. So you have a camera that's inserted into the patient's cavity or abdomen, and you're using that video camera to then manipulate tissues through what's called ports and perform the operation.
Well, do you ever do surgery without not laparoscopy, non-laparoscopic surgery?
I do, and that's one of the reasons I became a trauma surgeon. Is I say, trauma surgeons like to do things maximally invasive, and so I still do things the old-fashioned way with big, large incisions.
When it's necessary.
When it's necessary, but it's nice to have the option. Yeah. And again, usually in the elective setting, people that are coming to the clinic, they're going to get the minimally invasive. We do the big operation, the big incisions in emergent situations.
Okay, time for us to take a break. Our program is presented by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. Dr. Andrew Hopper is here along with Tracy Pope, and this is Coleman and Company FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford and that regular oil change, $39.95 up to 5 quarts of oil. Tax and disposal, $17.80 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Starting to build with a little bit more volume coming through Kingston Springs, Pegram. All of that traffic coming in right now from Dixon County on I-40 going eastbound all the way into Bellevue. It's already a little bit crowded. 65 southbound at Trinity Lane. It continues to pick up with more volume on 24 as we check it out live here on 24 westbound at OHB. All that traffic up through the Antioch area in right now from Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. Hey, when you need dependable towing in Middle Tennessee, no matter what county you're in, call STR Towing and Recovery. Check out strtow.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
And now, a moment of silence to remember our dear friend. Sorry. Oh, man.
Life can be uncomfortable. Your home doesn't have to be. With a wide range of air conditioners, furnaces, and heat pumps, Rheem makes it easy to feel comfortable, even when you can't be comfortable.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
Coleman and Company, thanks for joining us here on a Tuesday. We are featuring Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, and if you just joined us, Dr. Andrew Hopper is here, Trauma Medical Director, General and Trauma Surgeon for Vanderbilt Wilson, along, of course, with Tracy Pope, the Director of Community Relations. And one other thing, we'll move to something else, but as far as can a patient make their own appointment if they think they're having gallbladder problems?
Definitely, and like I said earlier, Coleman, it's always better if you take care of this before the gallbladder gets really infected and really sick. You don't want to be septic and in the hospital. That's going to increase your length of stay, put you at an increased risk for potentially needing the old-fashioned open operation. So if they'd like to come and see myself or any one of my partners that do gallbladder surgery all the time, they can call 615-322-2063. Our office is located right on the campus of Wilson County Hospital. in a building there, and we do all the surgery there at the hospital. They don't have to go down to the main campus to have this done.
Okay.
And Dr. Hopper and his team, they see these types of patients all the time, so it's very normal. But as an individual, I have one gallbladder, so you probably haven't experienced this or know what you're looking for. So typically you do see your internal medicine or primary care physician trying to diagnose and figure out what's going on. But if you're someone that has had symptoms that we've talked about this morning, which the typical symptoms would be right upper quadrant pain, or maybe it's going around to your back, and you think, I know that happens every time I eat, then you can make your own appointment if you wish. But usually patients do have a complete workup and already have a diagnosis before they get to Dr. Hopper's office and see him.
All right. But it's an easy process either way, I think.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let's talk about the different types of hernia surgeries.
Yeah, so a hernia is basically a defect in either the abdominal wall or sort of the inguinal or groin region. And hernias by themselves aren't necessarily dangerous. What makes a hernia dangerous is sometimes intra-abdominal contents, usually bowel, can get trapped in these hernias. And if the bowel stays trapped in there for too long, it can become obstructed, meaning that nothing is going through. And that obstructions can sometimes lead to ischemia and infarction, meaning death of the bowel. Obviously, that's an emergency. So again, hernias by themselves, they can be unsightly, but it's really the concern for damage to the underlying bowel that makes us want to operate on them.
Do people usually get concerned immediately when they suspect a problem with a hernia?
So it's pretty obvious when that bowel is trapped and that bowel is at risk. It's going to be very, very painful, some of the worst pain that you've ever had. And usually where the hernia is at, you're going to feel a big, very hard or dense lump there, almost like there's a golf ball or an orange sitting there. Most people, when they have hernias, they can kind of push the hernia back in. And if you can push it back in, it's not an emergency, it's okay. But if you can't push it back in, you're having a lot of pain, and it's really, really hard, then you need to come to the hospital for us to take a look at you.
How serious is this usually I guess it can be a life-threatening thing, but is it usually?
Usually not, but it can become. So if that bowel dies and that bowel spills, well, now you're spilling potential stool and fecal material into that area, and that can lead to sepsis, and obviously, sepsis kills people. So again, that's why we usually recommend if you have a hernia, we recommend getting it fixed.
All right. But I guess the wise thing to do is don't wait. Check it out and make sure. It might be that you just need to watch it for the rest of your life.
Might need to watch it. That's one of the things that my partners and I will talk to you about is what are the risks and benefits of potentially doing a hernia operation. And if you're largely asymptomatic and there's no evidence of bowel within that hernia, then we may say, yeah, you don't need an operation right away. But on the other hand, if you're relatively young and you're having pain on a daily basis, that hernia is not going to go away on its own, and it's probably something that just needs to be fixed.
All right, let's talk about colon cancer surgery. You do perform colon cancer surgery, right?
We do. So we have a very comprehensive program here at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, and it starts honestly with our GI colleagues, our gastroenterologists. And I tell people, the most important thing to do is get your colon cancer screenings, because it's almost like weeding the garden, because sometimes those little small weeds will grow up into really big weeds. It's easier to deal with them when they're small, and most of the time our gastroenterologists can simply pluck them, and you don't have to have a big operation. But when things do grow out of control and lead to cancer, then yes, that's one of the things that my group and I will deal with. And we actually recently have had colorectal surgeons join us out here in Wilson County Hospital. And so if there's not an emergency, then typically we'll send you to our colorectal surgeon colleagues. And they're able to do some really remarkable things with minimally invasive surgery and robotic surgery, which obviously help you sort of get through the healing process. Where my group comes in is more on the emergency side of things, meaning patients that their cancer has progressed very far and they've become obstructed, they have a blockage. Sometimes they perforate, meaning they leak from their cancer. And then that's when we have to go in and basically do damage control surgery, remove the cancer, get control of the infection, and get people taken care of.
And there are different types of surgery for colon cancer, and it depends a lot on the situation, I imagine.
That's exactly right. And it's going to depend where the cancer is located, what portion of the colon. It will depend on how extensive the cancer is. So is it still relatively defined to the colon itself, or has it spread into the lymph nodes or other portions of the body? Again, that's why it's important to get your screenings, your colonoscopy screenings, and try to catch things before they get out of control.
Well, I've known some people with stage 4 colon cancer who have made it through surgery and still living today, but it's not something you want to hear. That's a scary thing to say, stage 4 colon cancer.
It definitely is. You want to, obviously want to be on the lower stage of things. But that being said, Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital has a cancer center, and we see lots of patients with stage 4 type of malignancies, and our oncology doctors are very, very good at providing care for those patients.
Well, Vanderbilt Wilson has received their official status as a Level 3 trauma center. So tell us what this means for our hospital here and our community.
Yeah, we're really excited about this, and I know we've talked about it before. In fact, in the upcoming year, we're going to be recertified. Every 3 years, you get recertified by the state. And as I said before, it's a very intense process where the state sends experts out in the trauma field. They review all of your practices and make sure that you are adequately prepared to take care of trauma patients. And then obviously every 3 years, they come back and make sure that you have taken good care of those trauma patients. So
is it maybe a little bit easier to get recertified than to get the original certification?
A little bit easier because you already have a lot of the processes in place, but you obviously have to make sure.
Much work.
Right, on the front end, right. But you still have to make sure that you're, meeting all the standards there. But, this was important for Vanderbilt main campus and the community. As Wilson County continues to grow, tremendous influx in population, we wanted to be able to provide award-winning Vanderbilt care, trauma care to Wilson County. And I can honestly tell you there are multiple patients that our group, our hospital, their lives have been saved because they were critically injured, gunshot wounds, car accidents. They would not have made it all the way downtown. And so they stopped at our hospital. We were able to stabilize them, take care of their issues. They would have died if they had tried to go downtown.
Well, as we get closer to concluding time here, tell us more about the training of a trauma surgeon and your current role in collaboration with Vanderbilt Wilson and Wilson County.
Yeah,
actually, the hospital in Nashville, Vanderbilt University Medical Center, that's Nashville. Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital here in Lebanon.
Yes, sir. And like I said, it is a long training process. But my group and I, we're passionate about what we do. We really feel like we're making a difference in the community, and that's important to us. So all of that training, that 15 years plus of training is well worth it. And when you see a survivor come back to you in clinic and, they're there with their family, their kids, it really, really makes you feel good inside. The beauty of being associated or affiliated with Vanderbilt University in Nashville is that while Wilson County can care for the majority of problems, every once in a while there's things that are beyond our scope, and we need the subspecialists. And so that sort of close affiliation allows us to have access to those resources, and if needed, to be able to transport those patients downtown for higher level or definitive care.
All right. Well, I think you've explained things really well, Dr. Andrew Hopper. I've enjoyed your visit this morning. And Tracy, we got about a minute and a half to wrap things up here. Anything on your mind to close out this morning?
No, just always excited to hear from Dr. Hopper in his role at the hospital as the trauma medical director. I mean, it was one of the first major service lines that we invested in, and we were successful in completing and applying to Wilson County Hospital. And we're just so fortunate to have him and his team. You know, he's not a solo guy out there doing it all by himself. There's a team of nurses, lab technicians, ER staff, and his colleagues in his department that really pull this service line together. And it's just a huge investment here in Wilson County.
Well, I think we all very much appreciate the fact that you did stay in Tennessee and didn't go back to Arizona. I think it was Arizona you said.
Yes, sir.
So is the weather here much different from Arizona? It's
a dry heat out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have more humidity.
More humidity here and a lot more green.
Yeah.
A lot more green. So.
Well, we've enjoyed your visit this morning. And Tracy, you always come up with some great ones. Thank you for all you do to make this portion each Tuesday when you're here of Coleman and Company what it is, because I think we are getting the word out really well about Vanderbilt Wilson, but all the things, the latest that's going on in the medical field, and we owe you a debt of gratitude.
Well, thank you, Coleman. We appreciate you.
All right, that is it. Part one of Coleman and Company. We've got more, and we hope you'll keep it right here, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. And it's all brought to you by Absolute Kubota. High performance, high horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now's the best time to save on new Kubota L-Series tractors, rated number 1 for durability and owner experience in the U.S. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It's a little bit heavy, 24 westbound at times up through the Antioch area coming in right now from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. It seems to have picked up quite a bit down I-40 around Highway 109 there in Wilson County. All that traffic leaving Lebanon headed towards Davidson County as it gets heavier. 24 east right there at the Jolton exit at Whites Creek Pike. Hey, if you recently suffered hail or storm damage to your roof, now that roof is leaking a bit. Call Independent Roofing Specialists today. These guys are the best. I wouldn't talk about them if they weren't. Call 615-647-9007. Independent Roofing Specialists. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Here's District Attorney General Jason Lawson.
I've seen people who have turned their lives around and become successful in defeating addiction. Every family has people addicted to drugs, and every family knows someone and loves someone and wants to come in and change that. Everyone knows someone who is caught up in that situation. Recovery is possible. People do it every day, and you can too. Ask for help. You don't have to do this alone.
Visit WilcoAddictionHelp.com or call 615-549-5777.
Cedar City RV, your destination for all things camping. Whether you're looking for travel trailers, fifth wheels, or anything in between, Cedar City RV has you covered. We proudly offer top brands like Forest River, Palomino, Rockwood, Coachman, and more. Plus, expert service after the sale to keep you on the road with confidence. Financing is available, making it easier than ever to start your next adventure. Visit us online at cedarcityrv.com or stop by our location at 1102 Sparta Pike in Lebanon to explore new and previously enjoyed models today.
Well, that partly cloudy skies for today with highs around 90. Mostly clear tonight, lows around 70, and then mostly sunny on Wednesday. A stray shower or thunderstorm will be possible. Afternoon highs remaining around 90. This forecast brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. With your severe view forecast, I'm Storm Specialist Drew Richards.
We welcome you to part two of Coleman and Company here on a Tuesday morning. Time for us to feature Hearthside Senior Living. Sean Dozier is Executive Director, Hearthside, and he is on special assignment, and it, I understand, is a special one.
Yes.
For the next 3 weeks, we have substitutes lined up, and the first one is with us today, and someone who's no stranger to our listening audience. If you've been around for a while, you remember terrific Teresa. Well, Teresa is here this morning to do the commercial for Hearthside Senior Living. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I haven't been called Terrific Teresa. I'm going to have to talk to my husband about that. And when you retire, he's going to have to work on that.
I think Wallace also came up with that.
He absolutely did so many years ago.
I think you've been on the radio with us since you left the Senior Citizen Center.
I think one time I have been out here, maybe for my FCE club or something, but not much.
Well, anyway, we better get talking about Hearthside Senior Living. The location is 215 Castle Heights Avenue North, and it is a retirement and assisted living community. And I think one of the reasons that Sean tapped you to come here is because your mother is there.
My mom, Jean King, is, and she's been there for 2 years now, and it has just been a really great fit for her. I said I knew everybody at all the assisted livings, but I knew that, and they're all so wonderful. We're blessed in Lebanon and Wilson County, but I knew it would just be a really good fit because it's small, and it is. There are only like 40 residents that live up in the assisted living, but then they have some awesome people that live down in their independent living. Miss Ann, that lives down in independent living, comes up and teaches exercise class, and she does a little choir, and she does a chair tap dance class. And those people that do that class, and Mom does not participate in those. It's just not her thing. She's not I didn't get that from my mother. I got that from my father. But they do performances and have a ball, take great pride in all that they do. But it has been such a great fit. Mom loves her room. She has a beautiful view that overlooks the entrance to Academy, and she has crepe myrtles outside her window in the summertime. But I just want to say that they have been so good. They have got Elaine that cooks up there. They have a lot of people that work in the kitchen, but Mom's favorite day is probably when Elaine does her fish on Fridays.
Elaine used to have Elaine's Country Kitchen out on North Cumberland.
And she sure knows how to cook.
Yeah.
And they do have breakfast, lunch, and dinner there, but Mom chooses not to get up and go to the cafeteria or the dining room for breakfast, but they do a really great breakfast. If you go in early, you smell that bacon and sausage cooking, and they have really, really good food. They really spoil them with their food. They've got Miss Brenda that comes around, and she helps bring the plates around, but everybody loves her on Tuesday because Miss Brenda brings around ice cream on Tuesday. Lots of choices. They've got Cindy, who is the nurse there, and she just does an amazing job keeping up with all of them, and she actually administers or hands out their medicines for them. They have a great housekeeping crew, and I know Gabby is kind of, I guess, over the little housekeeping crew, but they keep their rooms so clean, and they probably come in and get Mom's trash at least 3 or 4 times a day and check the bathroom, things like that. It's always so clean. Right now they've got Maggie, who is doing their activities, and she does a great job. She's actually still in high school, and just the sweetest, best, happy disposition, and that's what they need. It's just somebody that's going to make them happy and get them out of their rooms and just have lots of fun.
Well, let me ask this, because Sean talks about the original adjustment quite often, and how that usually goes really well. How was your mother's adjustment when she went there? Did it take long?
It was good. No, and it is an adjustment. It definitely is an adjustment. Maybe more for me than her, because Mom had been living with me probably for the last at least 15 to 20 years. And it was a big adjustment for me as well. But no, she did great, and she made such good friends. And they have assigned seating in the dining room. And so Janet took good care of us, and she made sure that Mom would be at a table with somebody that had been there a while. So Donna just showed Mom the ropes. Now you do this, you do that, and don't do this, and don't do that, and watch out for this. But they're really good to assign people in the dining room with, a mixture of people that have been there a while and that haven't, and they take care of each other. Mom, one of her friends is actually in the hospital right now, and Mom just worries over Miss Janice, and they take care of each other, and it's a good crew. And because it's small, it's just like a little family up there. They have church services up there on Sunday. Mom can go get her hair done. I don't have to take her off site. She walks down the hall, and Julie just makes her beautiful every Thursday. So it's been a great fit, and it has given Randy and I the freedom to travel and do the things that we would like to do. As we go into retirement years. I'm retired. He's not. He has to work so I can stay retired. So, but it's a great place.
Do you have a heartside hello this morning?
Well, I'll just say a heartside hello to my mom, Jean King, and her little table mates, Donna and Janice and Miss Virginia.
All right, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we usually end the commercial time, is with a heartside hello, and you did have one this morning. Yeah. I think that was impromptu, but we wouldn't expect any less from you, Teresa. Thanks for filling in for Sean today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hearthside Senior Living, 215 Castle Heights Avenue North, right here in Lebanon, Tennessee, and we are 21 minutes before 8 o'clock. Jeff Luttrell, our Director of Schools, is my guest for Part 2. He's right here this morning and ready to go, and a good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
You had a board meeting last night, a school board meeting, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the end of school. And in fact, I guess that's just a place to start here. You went to multiple graduations, every high school and whatever else there was, and some of them are held over at Murfreesboro, a lot of them, I think. But did all that go well?
It really went well. We had a great graduation ceremonies. Each school is a little bit unique and different, but it's an opportunity to celebrate those classes and their 12 years of achievement and success, and just a good event. A long Saturday, 3 in one day, 3 big high schools, but
do you usually hand the diplomas?
I shake their hands.
Okay.
People do that different, and I always felt like when I was a principal, I wanted to hand them as a principal, and so my principals hand the diploma, and then I shake their hand and wish them congratulations.
Well, anyway, it's a very happy time, and especially for all who graduate, and you do that last of May just about every year. But then onward and upward, as we say. This school year is over. You're already getting ready, no doubt, for the next one.
We are. A lot of people think school's out, so we're not very busy, but really it's the busiest time of the year, I think, getting everybody hired and in place for next year, and so a lot going on.
Well, let's talk about your board meeting last night. Any headline news out of it? We like to know a little bit about maybe any big news, if there is.
Really nothing big. You had just a lot of cleaning up the year stuff on some policies and getting ready for next year. Really just did celebrate some state champions. We've got a wrestler has won a state as a freshman. We got a pole vault state champion. We got a track and field. We got a young lady at Mount Junior High School. She won 2 state championships. So we kind of celebrated them, and that was good opportunity to see what some of our students are doing, and really a pretty routine board meeting.
The budget, it is budget time. The county commission is probably at their June meeting going to approve the budget, which includes your school budget, which is maybe 60% of the county budget in that neighborhood, 60-70%. A lot of money. It takes a lot of money to run school system. Are you through with that as far as the Board of Education goes?
Yeah, we our budget's been approved by the board unanimously, and we had some work sessions and worked through that last month, and then it went on to Education and Budget Committee last week. It's been approved through there, and so June 16th will be, as a part of the county budget, our budget, that'll be the final approval on it.
So really your work on that is done, provided it gets that final approval by the county.
It is. Yeah, we start that process early now, and Mayor Hutto's kind of shifted toward that, and it's really a good thing. It makes May awful busy, but knowing, we'll know June 16th, and I don't see a lot of trouble with it. It's the budget is basically. We're not asking for any money. Now, we do get our growth money. Mayor Hutto and the county commission has agreed that we get our growth money, meaning the increase on property tax and sales tax. We get to go ahead and budget that in. And so we have done that. And
do you know pretty much what that is ahead of time?
Yeah. Well, it's an estimate, of course, based on last year's revenue, how it's came in. And, we've been very blessed here in this county. We're still, sales tax is still holding. We're up. I think every month, maybe one this past fiscal year, sales tax came in more than what we had budgeted. And of course, property tax, you can tell with all the additions of rooftops, that means increase in property tax. And so it's about $3 million that we've budgeted in for next year. So we got to go ahead and do that. We didn't have to go get that. And so I thank the commission for doing that. It allows us to do some things. But one of the most challenging parts of this budget was we still, in my tenure, we've been very committed to paying our people. And that's where most of our money goes. And got state law that by next year starting pay has to be $50,000. So we've been working on that for several years, doing it in increments. And
let me enter. As a director of schools, I feel sure you enjoy, you want to pay as much as you can. Is that, do you feel like that is sort of a benchmark, a good starting place? That's really a good thing and an encouraging thing for people to get into education even?
Absolutely. I think if you look at, 2 or 3 years ago, we started on nationwide of signs of there being a teacher shortage. And we've experienced that here in the last couple of years. But as we've gotten our pay up, we got more applicants. And so, that's been a big part of it. And we wanted to do that, to get that starting pay to $50,000. We've had a plan for 4 years of what it was going to take. And this year, that plan included a 3.5% raise for certified, a 2% for classified. And that raises for everybody. We went back to every year our teachers get a step. Based on years of experience, and then this raise. So to tell you how tight the budget was, we knew we were budgeting for approximately $3 million growth money, but then when we ran the numbers to do that 3.5%, that was over $6 million just for certified teachers, right at $6 million. So we've had to go in and tighten some things, and with that, there's some pains in handling that budget, but this budget will go balanced.
But it probably though is an incentive, and if nothing else, really a feel good thing for those teachers, those educators, that they are not forgotten. They are being not only remembered but even encouraged with a little more money.
And I wish we could do more, but I think it's important that we take a look at where we were at, and in 4 years, on average, our teachers have gotten a 15% raise plus their step, with no new tax dollars.
Yeah.
So that's important. So I'm proud of our team and how we're handling that budget and handling our finances. Our classified people, 4 years ago, I think our starting pay was below $10, about $9.50 an hour. If this budget passes, the lowest starting pay point will be $14.50 or $14.60 something an hour.
Yeah.
So we have been committed over time. We've had to do it in small increments, and I think going forward, that's going to be the key to keeping good people. You got to take care of them.
All right, Jeff Luttrell, our director of schools, is here. We'll take a break, and more coming up on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Absolute Kubota, high performance, high horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now is the best time to save a new Kubota L-Series tractors, rated #1 for durability and owner experience in the U.S. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now in traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It's heavier than it was 15-20 minutes ago. Westbound on Vietnam Fence as you work your way past Conference Drive. You got all that traffic coming in from Hendersonville, Sumner County in that area. 24, it's busy now. Westbound up through the Antioch area coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County as it Fields down I-40 leaving Dixon County right now. When you need dependable towing in Middle Tennessee, no matter what county you're in, call STR Towing and Recovery, strtow.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome to Hearthside Senior Living, Lebanon's unique senior living community designed for seniors to age in place, all within a safe, comfortable, and Christian environment. Beautiful retirement homes designed for an independent lifestyle with maintenance-free living. Hearthside Senior Living also continues the excellent tradition of assisted living for those seniors who need additional services. Hearthside Senior Living, an independent retirement community and assisted living community, all on one campus in the heart of Lebanon. Call 615-443-1994 for a tour.
Where a patient starts their cancer care matters. And here, that means Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, Wilson County. It's Vanderbilt level care without making the drive to Nashville. From screening to diagnosis to treatment and recovery, patients can get all the care they need right here close to home. So now, having the best care team and most advanced treatment is closer than ever. Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, making cancer care personal.
Coleman and Company, thanks for joining us. Jeff Luttrell, our Director of Schools, is here. We've got about 11 minutes more. I don't know exactly what we need to fill this time with, but you have to a lot of preparation, no doubt, starting almost when the school is out for the next year. What about I don't know what you'd call this infrastructure, but the buildings and the maintenance and all of that is there much of that going on this summer?
Oh yeah, just standard. Our contract crew or cleaning company, they'll be doing deep cleans and redoing the floors, putting the shine on the floors, waxing the floors in all of our buildings. And then we've just got so many projects. We've got roofing projects going on. One at W.A. Wright, Tucker's will get a roof this year, and so there's a lot of activity like that. We've got some athletic improvements going on at Wilson Central with the softball building, hitting facility, and redoing the soccer field. And then we've got 2 schools coming out of the ground. There's a lot going on in Wilson County as far as buildings and taking care of the maintenance.
Do you have somebody who kind of looks after the buildings that answers to you, but through him you really keep up and keep the maintenance and all of this going?
Yeah, we have a maintenance department, and of course they have a supervisor. Mitch Fox has been here a long time, and so that's just regular maintenance in our buildings. And then Mr. Travis Mayfield is deputy director. He's over the building projects, working with construction. Of course, I'm still involved. Right now we're meeting weekly at Lagardo Elementary, trying to make sure that building's ready to go for August 1 for students. And so, yeah, I've got a lot of great people that work under me, and those 2 men specifically, that's a big part of it. A lot of people don't think when you have a storm, regardless of the time, we've got to check those buildings, make sure if we've got any damage, what can we do? And so I appreciate what they do. It takes a whole lot of people to run this organization.
Well, no doubt. And you were principal, of course, at Watertown and responsible for the whole thing there. But it's got to be on a much grander scale to be the director and really ultimately responsible for all of them, not just one. How many actual schools, elementary, middle, high school, how many?
Well, total with our ATC and all, we've got about 24 campuses.
24.
And we're getting ready to add another, and it'll be 25, and then Central Pike will be done for the next year. That'll be 26. And so it is. And there's a lot goes on. And, at the best.
We've got as many school buildings as we have districts in the county there.
That's right. Yeah. And so this thing just keeps growing and going to continue to grow. And at the end of the day, what our focus is on the educational piece. But there's so many more aspects to make that, and we're trying to make so many improvements, and I'm proud of where we're at, and we don't always get it right. Sometimes there's things that happen that sometimes beyond our control, but I feel like we're in a better place. Our maintenance program, we've already got projected out on these roofs. That many campuses, roofing is an never-ending issue, and so we've got I work off of a 5-year plan, and we update that every year, what we can fund, what we can't fund. And so it's a big part of the operations is a big part of what we do.
How much attention do school board members, I mean, they follow your direction, they direct you, you answer to them, but they, I'm sure you keep them up to date. Some of them are probably more interested in the academics. Some of them might be more interested in the school buildings. Each one of them is an individual with certain interests and things that they pay more attention to, I imagine.
They do, and this is a really good board because it's varied. We've got teachers, we've got former educators, we've got real estate agents, we've got a roofing contractor, we've got an engineer sitting on that board. So, and they're a help. But we do keep them updated. During the budget process, every year we looked at 5-year plan and show them here's what we've done, here's what we need to do. And then we update them regularly. Mr. Mayfield's keeping them up to date. So as things happen in the community regarding this, they have current information of where we're at and what steps are being taken.
Well, it does take a lot of people, a lot of personnel, and it's not just teachers. You have bus drivers, you have cooks and this sort of thing. How is that? We'll get to the bus drivers in a minute, but as far as the other people, maybe teachers, assistant people in the cafeteria, janitors, custodians, how's all that going? You okay?
We are. We gave a report last night from HR that at the end of April, we only had 8 classroom teacher openings and just a few handful of classified. And so right now, if everything holds, and some, of course in the summertime there's some movement. Yeah. But right now we really, I feel like, looking at all the data, if everything holds, and we're going to be in better shape position-wise than we've been in Wilson County in a long time. Last week, I met with every principal. First week out, I met with every principal for an end-of-year meeting talking about next year. And we've got a lot of schools that are 100% staffed. Now, that's got to hold over the summer. Mm-hmm. But also, I can tell you our candidate pool, that's something I monitor and go in and look occasionally how many applications we got. We're getting more applicants that want to be a part of Wilson County Schools. And there was a survey done by our teachers through the state, and I don't have the numbers exactly, but it was well over 85% were satisfied with their job and their position, and that's an increase. So there's some data saying some of the moves our board has made, some of the things we've done, budgeting, putting money into pay, is becoming more and more attractive for people who want to be in Wilson County. And we've always had a great school system, but we had that growth spurt coming out of COVID, and I think we're seeing that level off, and I think the future is really, really bright for Wilson County schools.
You have any difficulty really with substitute teachers? Because I guess as many classrooms as there are, there's a few teachers every day of the school year, just about, where you got to have a substitute somewhere.
Well, a couple of years ago we brought that back in house. Maybe it's been 3 years now, and we're hiring substitutes every day, and. That's one of the first things I do when I get up in the morning is look at my phone, see how many's covered and how many's not covered. And we've seen our coverage rate grow up. There was days with 75 to 85% coverage rate for a subs. And you take with basically 1,500 classroom teachers, 24 buildings, that's pretty good. So that's another department that has grown, and I think we're getting better at it. And there's a lot of people that's now available. They become a part-time employee of Wilson County Schools, and we're processing those every day, and so that's been another positive.
Well, maybe one of the biggest problems, challenges, headaches has been bus drivers. How are we seeing things?
Well, we're still hiring. Anybody wants to drive a bus, we will hire you. At the end of the year, we had 2 seats that were not filled with the permanent driver. But one of the things, as many drivers, 400 some routes, 200 drivers, we do have issues with coverage on days for if they're off for sickness or cannot work. So the next step is going to be able to build that substitute pool within the bus drivers. And Mr. Hardaway, Transportation Director, is beating the bushes this summer. We want to hire as many bus drivers as we possibly can to be able to cover that. And it's better, but that is an area I think will still remain to be a challenge. And it's not unique. If you go into growing areas like this around the country, that is a challenge, and we're doing everything within our power, and it's an area that we really need to improve on, but the effort is being made.
Well, I think we had some neighboring school systems who had some people who were really unhappy with some decisions that were made. In fact, if my memory is right, I think the news story had to do if you were within walking distance of the school, you wasn't going to ride the bus. So I don't think we've got that far yet.
No, and I'm not willing to make that decision. If you look at our communities, that's a trend that has happened around the country, mile and a half, and I just don't see the sidewalk or the infrastructure available. That the safest way to get to school is still on that yellow bus.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're going to have at least a week off this summer.
I will. Here at the end of June, I'll take a few days off and get out of the office.
Well, if nothing else, where you live, Patton Holler, it is the cool countryside, and you can get away from it a little bit.
I can. I get an opportunity to see a beautiful sunrise and a beautiful sunset, but the problem a lot of times is I'm not there when that's taking place.
Well, hopefully we'll continue to have you or somebody representing school system on the first Monday, usually the first Monday of the month, however it fits our schedules. But always good to have you, Jeff, and have a great summer. And August 1st will be here before you know it.
It will be. Thanks, Coleman.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for a Tuesday. We have the Wednesday edition coming up tomorrow, and hope you'll join us then. And until tomorrow, I wish you a terrific day.